Hey everybody, I am Brady Briggs. Welcome to another episode of the Combat Logic. All right, today we're going to be talking about UFC 272 going down live from Paradise, Nevada tomorrow night, live on pay-per-view. Of course, this event is headlined by a non-title fight, which is very rare for pay-per-views at this point in the UFC's day and age. But it couldn't be a more exciting matchup, and they are both technically champions. Colby Covington is the number one ranked contender at welterweight in the world in the UFC. And he's an interim champion, a former interim champion. He never lost the belt in a fight, even though he did fight the undisputed champion twice. He was stripped of his title, and he should have fought Tyron Woodley when he was champion, because that's when he won the interim belt. He probably would have been an undisputed champion then. Nonetheless, he fights the BMF champion, Jorge Masvidal, which is not a real belt, we all know, but it's technically champion versus champion fight. We're gonna work our way up to that though, and we're gonna start off with the very first fight of the night, man. Oh my god, this card is so stacked. There are 13 fights going down, assuming everyone makes weight today, and man, it couldn't be more exciting. So starting off the early prelims rather at 6 p.m. Eastern time is Michel Oleksiejczuk versus Dustin Jacoby, two really, really wicked strikers. Now, Oleksiejczuk is 16-4. He comes into the fight on a 2-fight win streak. 3 of his losses are submissions. He was submitted back-to-back by Vince St. Preux and Jimmy Crute. Since then, he's beat Modestas Bukauskas and Shamil Gamzatov, which Shamil Gamzatov has so much hype around him, and he just dusted him off in the first round. Now, Oleksiejczuk is not a big light heavyweight. Honestly, he should probably be a middleweight. He's pretty fucking tiny for 205 pounds. That being said, his power carries so well in that division. He hits so damn hard. He kicks so hard. He's incredibly fast and technical. I am always so excited to see him fight. And then Dustin Jacoby, he took a break from MMA for a while to focus on kickboxing, where he went 10-8 as a professional, but he's fighting some of the best kickboxers in the world, like Alex Pereira, the last guy to beat Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. He starched Israel Adesanya. Fucking Dustin Jacoby fought him before he even had 10 kickboxing fights. He fought Simon Marcus a number of times. He's fought Wayne Barrett. He's fought some really good kickboxers. He even beat Wayne Barrett. Wayne Barrett's got some wins over some good kickboxers himself. Since he's returned to MMA, let's see. He started kickboxing following his Bellator defeat to John Salter, top middleweight contender still today. And he returned with a unanimous decision win, followed by another unanimous decision win on Dana White's Contender Series. This got him a shot back in the UFC, and he has since gone 4-0-1, going 3-0-1 last year. He had one of the better years last year. And this is going to be a really, really good fight between two really good, dangerous strikers. And I cannot wait for it. That being said, Dustin Jacoby is the much bigger party of the two. So this should be a really interesting fight. But Oleksiejczuk, that's nothing new to him. Devontae Smith is fighting Ludovic Klein in the second fight of the night. And, man, this is equally as good of a fight between two equally as dangerous strikers. Now, Klein, I wouldn't say he's the most dangerous striker in the world, but he's very good at it, and he's got really good submissions too. He's 17-4 as a pro, 8 wins by submission, 8 wins by knockout, 1 by decision. That being said, he lost his last 2 fights to Mike Trizano and Nate Landwehr. So, an Ultimate Fighter champion and an M1 Global champion. So, they're good fighters. And he knocked out Shane Young in his UFC debut. Shane Young is tough as fuck. Go watch some of that kid's fights. He can take it. And Klein starched him early in that fight. It was very impressive. Does he get back to the winning track? Or does Devontae Smith get back to the winning track as he's coming off a defeat as well to Jamie Mullarkey, who's fighting later on in the card? Devontae Smith, man, he is 5'9" with a 76-inch reach. I'll just, put that out there. Conor McGregor was known for his reach. He's 5'9" with a 74-inch reach. Devontae Smith literally has arms as long as someone that is 6'4". That's insane. He's 5'9". And his striking is very dangerous too. He hits really hard. And that being said, he's 11-3. 10 of his wins are knockouts, but all 3 of his defeats come via knockout as well. This should be a really interesting fight, and honestly, I have no idea how this one goes. Next up is Tim Elliott versus Tagir Ulanbekov. And man, this is a really good fight too. Anytime we see Tim Elliott, we know it's going to be a really interesting scramble fest, more than likely. Ulanbekov is, let's see, 2-0 inside the UFC. He is a GFC champion. And Tim Elliott was on a 2-fight win streak going into his last fight against Matthias Nicolau, which he lost a unanimous decision to. But Nicolau is good as fuck. He's a really good fighter. He's 17-2 as a pro. He just returned to the UFC with a very close decision win over rising champion Manal Kape, and then followed it up with a win over Tim Elliott. There's really no shame in losing to that kid. But Elliott is one of the best fighters in the entire world for having a terrible record. He's 17-12. But if you remember, this guy won the Ultimate Fighter. He was a Titan FC champion going into that season of the Ultimate Fighter. He fought Demetrius Johnson for the belt, and he came closer to beating Demetrius Johnson than anybody ever did, except for obviously Henry Cejudo when he rematched him. This dude almost anaconda choked Demetrius Johnson. He got really tight to get in that submission. So he can, dude, Tim Elliott can beat anybody on any given night. He's really good, but you never know how his fights are going to go. You literally never know. Like, don't ever bet on a Tim Elliott fight. Headlining the early prelims, man, dude, this is such a great night to fight, guys. Brian Kelleher versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, Umar is finally in the UFC, which is crazy. He's only 13-0. Like, he's still relatively young into his career, and we're saying finally he's in the UFC. Well, he submitted M1 champion Sergey Morozov in his UFC debut. And Kelleher, man, this dude just fights everybody. He is a straight up G. Okay? Like, he will fight anybody on any given night, any weight class, it doesn't matter. Let's see, Kelleher is 5-2 in his last 7 fights, mixing between bantamweight and featherweight. He's very well-rounded. He's got good striking. He's very good at switching stances in the middle of his strikes. He's powerful. He's got really good submissions. He's a very well-rounded talent. And he's another fighter that's really, really good for his record. He's 24-12. Umar is 13-0. But you look at all the guys Kelleher has beat, all the guys he's fought. Like, he submitted Yuri Alcantara in his UFC debut. That was astounding. Like, Yuri Alcantara is a wicked grappler. And Kelleher guillotined him in less than 2 minutes. Not to mention all the other people he's beat. Henan Barral, O'Day Osborne, Hunter Azur, Kevin Kroom. He's a really, really good fighter. Opening up the regular prelims, we have a bout between Marina Moros and Maria Agapova. Now, Agapova is 10-2. Moros is 10-3. They're both 2-1 in their last 3 fights. It's a good female bout to open up the main card. We got Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Nikolai Neguramonu. And this is a good fight, too, because Neguramonu has a lot of hype behind him. Okay, he's from Romania. He's 11-1 as a pro. His only defeat was in his UFC debut. He's an RXF light heavyweight champion coming over. And Kennedy Nzechukwu was knocked out by Da Un Jung in his last fight, but prior to that, he was coming off back-to-back knockouts over Danilo Marquez and Carlos Ulberg, who's a 19-2 pro kickboxer. He is from Nigeria, I believe. Yeah, Nigeria. And he's got a lot of hype behind him. He is 6'5" with an 83-inch reach at light heavyweight. Not to mention, he's still very green. Like, he has so much room to improve. That should be an interesting fight. Next up in the preliminary co-main event, we got Marina Rodriguez and Yan Xiaonan. This should also be a really good fight. Both of these girls' last defeats is to Carla Esparza. Rodriguez's only defeat is to Carla Esparza via split decision. It was a very close fight. Since then, she's gone on a 3-fight win streak, defeating Amanda Hebos, Michelle Watterson, and Mackenzie Dern. Those are 3 of the best girls you can have wins over in the entire division. Comes into this fight with a 15-1-2 record. Now, Xiaonan is 13-2. She was TKO'd by Esparza in her last fight. And other than that, she's been perfect inside the octagon. Now, and she has wins over Angela Hill, Claudia Gadelia, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, also 3 really good girls to have wins over. Those are her last 3 wins. But something I want to say about this, it doesn't have anything to do with either of these 2 fighters, but Carla Esparza was the first woman to beat Rose Namajunas inside the UFC. Rose Namajunas is the champion again, and we all know Carla Esparza is next. Her last fight was in May of last year. Like, they need to book that rematch. Like, both fights are title fights. They need to book that rematch before people don't care to see Esparza in another title fight again. Like, it's been almost a year since her last win. She's on a 5-fight win streak. Like, she's obviously next in line, and they still haven't booked the fight. Please give Carla Esparza her title shot. And headlining the prelims, we got a lightweight bout between Jalen Turner and Jamie Malarkey. These are 2 of the best prospects we have in the division, which is really saying something because it's the UFC's deepest weight class. Now, Malarkey, though he lost his first 2 UFC bouts to Brad Riddell and Fares Diem, both kickboxers, he knocked out Kama Worthy and Devontae Smith in his last 2 fights, both of which are knockout artists, and both of which he was not the favorite going into. Turner, on the other hand, started out his MMA career with a record of 7-3, making his UFC debut against Vicente Luque up at 170 pounds. After getting knocked out by him, he's gone 4-1 inside the UFC. Only lost a decision to Matt Frapola, finished all 4 of his wins. He's another guy with a really, really extensive frame. He's 6'3" with a 77-inch reach at lightweight. That's pretty impressive. Not to mention how good he is at striking, and his grappling is getting so much better. I can't wait to see what Jalen Turner gives us in the future. This kid is such a unique talent. Opening up the main card, we got Sergey Spivak and Greg Hardy. Now, as you know, previous, a lot of people want to see Greg Hardy get his ass beat. This might be another fight where that happens. Spivak is a really good talent. Came over to the UFC with the record of 9-0 as the WWFC heavyweight champion. And though he went 1-2 in his first 3 UFC bouts, he won his next 3 before being defeated by Tom Aspinall in his last fight. And that's no shame at all. Tom Aspinall's a future champion. We all know it. And Greg Hardy, I believe he's on a 2-fight losing streak, getting knocked out in both his last 2 fights. Yeah, he got knocked out by Marcin Tybura and Tai Tuivasa in his last 2. But that being said, he's one of the best athletes in the entire sport. We all know that. He's one of the hardest hitters in the entire sport. We all know that. But he might be too big. He walks around about 310 pounds. He's a big boy. And for being that big, it's kind of surprising he's as athletic as he is. But we've seen a recurring problem with him. When he gets put on his back, he doesn't know how to do anything. He doesn't know how to get up. He's not agile, nothing. And that is definitely something Sergey Spivak can do to him. That being said, Spivak has been knocked out twice in his career. And if anyone can do it, Greg Hardy can do it. And both on the main card, we got Kevin Holland and Alex Oliveira. This is a super interesting fight because Alex Oliveira, though he hasn't done too awfully well recently, he's a very well-rounded talent. He's got great kickboxing. He's got good submissions. And Kevin Holland is finally going to 170. And he's finally fighting someone who's not going to try and take him down the whole fight. That should be really interesting. Something I want to say about Kevin Holland. He had the best year in 2020 of any fighter. He went 5-0. In 2021, he went 0-2-1. 3 fights, didn't win a single one of them. Both men are winless in their last 3 fights. Our feature fight of the night comes between Edson Barboza and Bryce Mitchell in the featherweight division, and this is as exciting of a fight as we have on the card, and I'm going to tell you why. Edson Barboza is a 25-3 pro kickboxer. He fights just like it. He's got black belts in Muay Thai and Taekwondo. Again, fights just like it. He's like one of the most dangerous strikers in the entire sport, one of the most dangerous fighters in the entire sport. Though he is coming off a defeat to Giga Chikadze, following his wins over Shane Burgos and Malkwan Amirkhani, while Bryce Mitchell comes into the fight with a record of 14-0, and he's just mauled everybody that he's fought so far, but he hasn't fought since October of 2020. So should be interesting. Hopefully he's not too rusty, but Bryce Mitchell might be the best featherweight in the world. We don't know that. Like, everybody he's fought, he's just ran right through. His MMA grappling and his pressure, it's very Colby Covington, like, honestly, except I'd say he's better at keeping fights on the ground than Colby. Colby lets his opponents up and then just continues to take them down. Bryce, once he gets you down, you're probably not going to get up. The co-main event comes between Rafael dos Anjos and Renato Moicano. Now, as we know, Rafael dos Anjos, former lightweight champion, was supposed to fight Rafael Fiziev tonight, or tomorrow night, rather. But Fiziev pulled out with an injury, and he gets replaced by Renato Moicano, which is a very interesting late replacement. Now, this is a 160-pound catchweight belt now. It's not a lightweight contest anymore, though it will have lightweight implications. Moicano has gone 3-1 since moving up to 155 pounds. His only loss to Fiziev, the guy Dos Anjos was supposed to fight. Other than that, he is 3-0 with 3 rear naked choke wins at lightweight. And Dos Anjos is one of the better lightweights we've ever seen in the sport, but he hasn't fought since November 2020. Not to mention, he's 37 years old now. So is he going to be the same fighter? He's turning 38 later this year, too. Is he going to be the same fighter that he was when he fought Paul Felder and at the end of 2020? We really don't know. And then, of course, the main event between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. This fight has been about 3 years in the making. These two were literally best friends, as we all know. I'm sure we've all seen the promos and the lead-ups to this fight. But their friendship ended somewhere in 2018 after Colby won the interim title. And that was over 3 years ago. It was almost 4 years ago, actually. And, you know, calling George a journeyman, saying he sucks, got double-digit losses. George didn't take too well to that, as we expected he wouldn't. And, yeah, they two hate each other now. But I'll say Colby probably wanted this fight a little more. You know, it didn't seem like Masvidal wanted to sign this fight. But I'm sure that he's going to be happy to get some frustrations out on Colby, because he's not the type of person that likes shit talk. He's not the type of person that likes fake people. We all know Colby's persona is fake. Super interesting, though, because these two worked out together so often, every single day. Like, they are such a huge reason for the other's success. Like, Colby started training with Jorge Masvidal before he even had his first pro fight. He sent in his NCAA and NGCAA resume to American Top Team because they were trying to up the wrestling program, and they housed him. They gave him a shot. Well, he turned into the long-standing number one contender at lightweight, considering. And Masvidal comes into this fight ranked at number 6, which is kind of surprising to me. He should be a little higher than that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Colby's wrestling has helped Masvidal throughout his career so much, and Masvidal has gotten so much better at defending takedowns. Not only that, when he's taken down, you don't hold him down. He gets back up, but and that being said, in the middle of those scrambles, there is a split second where neither fighter can defend themselves to a complete T. In the middle of a scramble, there is always an opening, and Jorge could catch him in the middle of one of those. Colby has to be very, very careful, because Jorge is one of the more dangerous strikers in the sport. He's so good at it. He's got so many tools he can go to. That being said, even if Colby can't keep him down, Masvidal has had problems with just allowing people to spam him with takedown attempts along the cage. If they can't take him down, he's still like Pat Healy, even though he won that fight. Kamaru Usman in their first fight, Ben Henderson, Damian Maia. He defended about 70-80% of those takedown attempts in all of those fights, but he still lost on the cards, except for Healy. He still lost on the cards because he allowed his opponents to control him. So I'm very curious to see if he allows Colby to control him like that or not, or if he gets back to striking range. And the same could be said for Colby's striking. It's gotten a lot better, but it's still not as good as Jorge Masvidal's. It's just not. This is one of those fights where if they were to fight 10 times, we would definitely get mixed results. I think Colby would win between 6 and 8 of them, but Jorge would definitely win at least 2 or 3, at least. It's too bad we won't see him fight a bunch of times. So Colby, since his first defeat, which came in his 9th fight, a fight he was injured in, that brought his record to 8-1. Since then, he's gone 8-2, only losing to the champion, having very close fights with him both times. Jorge Masvidal, since his return, he's gone 3-2, 3 knockout wins. His only 2 defeats to Kamaru Usman himself. They both fought the champion twice. But just because Colby gave Kamaru a tougher fight does not mean he's the better fighter than Masvidal. Styles make fights. It's a very important consideration to make. And yeah, how do you guys see this one going? I really can't wait for it. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.